The story of Zed. Everyone at some point in their lives has dreamed about doing something great. Indeed, it is often at a young age that these seeds of desire are first planted and tended to. As time passes, that seed of dreams might germinate and grow into a beautiful fruit-bearing tree. Some seeds may grow into a beautiful plant, but one that refuses to grow any fruit at all. And some seeds never grow into anything, replaced by others or buried and forgotten forever. It was in the 1990s that the seed of hope, that seed of dreams, first found its way into the heart and soul of a young teenager named Josiah. Josiah tended to his seed by going out and purchasing a bass guitar. He found time to practice for hours on end and produced original songs, allowing him to express his deepest thoughts and emotions. Looking to those who had traveled on the same path before him, he began to learn how to record his songs on a computer, and soon produced his first album called Next. Showing the album to a mentor, he received some scathing criticism. That little seed that had just begun to germinate, that had seen so much sunlight and fresh water, now bore witness to a darkness it had never seen before. For a long period of time, the seed stood still, alone in the dark. That is until one day, Josiah found the will to try again. He decided he would not give up. He believed that no matter what happened, the joy of making music was enough to keep him going, and keep going he did. Over the next 4 years, he recorded albums at the rate of about 2 a year. He poured loving sunshine onto the small plant that had stood still for a long time. He gave it love and care and watched it grow again. Slowly but surely, it grew to the point where Josiah asked if it could bear fruit. He put his heart, soul, sweat, and tears into producing his most ambitious album yet, a double album called Divide. He spent more time than ever on each track, giving it as much attention as he could. And then he brought some of his songs to life with elaborate music videos. But still, the plant, as strong as it had become, as beautiful as it was, only grew tiny little buds. These buds suggested perhaps that one day fruit would come, but it did not come then. Somewhat discouraged, Josiah withdrew once again from the public eye. Having graduated from university, he accepted a position as a full-time English teacher. Over the next 5 years, he found he had very little energy to do anything creative. Working full-time as a teacher drained him of all his creative energy and inspiration. Once again, the plant fell into darkness, only being briefly visited when he decided to take out his guitar and play a little bit here and there. His situation at work and in life got worse and worse. It seemed to him that the administration at his school continued to get more and more out of touch with the teachers, and he could see his students suffer because of this. In this difficult time he persevered, giving his all despite the pressures around him. It would take a terrible event to wake Josiah out of his malaise and bring him back to his dreams. As it often is in life, big terrible events that happen to us can often be used as turning points. And this turning point came in the form of losing his passport while backpacking abroad. The loss threw all his plans into chaos. The procedure of securing a new passport and the financial costs brought him to a near meltdown. One night, while sitting alone in his hotel, wondering how he might be able to continue enjoying his trip, he began to sob in frustration. It wasn't only the passport that brought him to tears. He realized that he'd been compromising the last 5 years, that he'd neglected his dreams and goals, that he'd been living for someone else. That night, he made the decision that would change his life for good. He decided he would quit his job and that he would once again revisit the plant inside of him and tend to it lovingly until it finally would bear fruit. With his savings, he left the city for a calmer setting in a new town, and then began the long process of bringing his plant to the point of bearing fruit, enough to sustain him and his family. And finally, After years of neglect, out came the guitar, the bass, and the microphone. He found his home in a jungle of sound and music once more, and began adding more fertilizer to the soil, timing the sunlight exposure just right, and adding minerals to the water, all in an effort to produce the greatest work of art he had ever produced. The result? An album called Zed, with a line crossed through it. Zed is the last letter of the alphabet, and can often signify the ending of something, of a journey. But when you put a line through something, you are crossing it out, meaning that Zed, with a line crossed through it, is both an ending and a beginning.